Looked at how to interact with the database using the command line. Let's now see how we could interact with it from the application. All right. Okay. All right. So to interact with the application, typically what we do is we use some kind of library that can connect to the database, give us a connection. And then from that connection, be able to send it commands, right, to insert, delete, update, find, read operations. We're going to be using the following library, which is a fairly popular library called the mongoose library, right? It's fairly easy to use. You just need to require the library. And to connect to a database, you just say .connect, and you give it the URL of the database where it is. Right? And that's it. That's that you're connected to a database. Once you're connected to a database, you can use several mongoose functions, right, to create data. Right? For instance, here we're creating a brand new model called the cat model that allows us to specify the description of what a cat is. Right? So all cats have a name. Right? So this is the equivalent of creating a class, right, in object-oriented languages. It's the equivalent of creating a table, right, in SQL databases. It's the equivalent of creating a collection, right? But you're describing it. You're giving it a schema. See that? Here you are giving it a schema. You're saying that all cats have an attribute called name, and they are of data type string. Okay? Once you have that, you could create instances of this cat that you just created, and provide it an instance of values for those attributes. For instance, name Zuljan. Right? And then once you have that instance, you can then just save it into a database, .save. Right? That .save is going to go and asynchronous connect to a database. Right? It's going to, remember, these two things are running in two separate processes. One is running on your Node.js server, and it's going over HTTP, over the network, connecting to a database, right, and inserting that information in the database. So your Node.js server might be running, somewhere on the West Coast, and your database might be running, somewhere on Eastern Europe, right? So they're certainly not on the same machine. They're certainly not using the same processor, most likely, right? So there is a network connection, and because there's a network connection, this function call is not a synchronous function call, meaning the thread, as it's executing normally from top to bottom, from left to right. Yes, that's what we were taught when we were learning how to program. This would execute, and it would not continue until this was fulfilled. Yes? And once you ran this, again, it would not continue executing until this line was fulfilled. So this is normally how we learn how to program. Every line stops until it's done. But not this one. This one is asynchronous. Right? All our lives we were taught to program in a synchronous world. Okay? But because we never had to deal with these issues of machines running in separate geographical areas. When you have to talk asynchronously to machines, we can't have the thread wait for this to happen. Right? It could be that server is down, right? It might never come back and answer and give us a response. So this would just sit there waiting for something that is never going to happen. Yes? So instead, this is an asynchronous call. The thread does not wait. It issues this command, and it just continues on to the next line, right? Whatever we would have next. Yes? At some point, the server, that database server, will come back with a response. to be able to answer, to receive that response, we have registered a callback function here that is going to come back from the database with some status information, whether it was successful or not, or what happened. Did it work? Okay. So this save function allows us to pass in a callback function, which will come back at some point when the server responds. And here we can continue our logic. Make sense? Everybody good? All right. So let's play around with this notion. Now, our application already sets up database, right, in our test application. Although I believe I might have commented out. So I'm going to do this from scratch, right, just to show you how this would be implemented. Okay? And we'll do that next.